welcome to Family Life, a Catholic Vision, and thank you for being here today. We are so happy to have you. Of course, you know we're here at the beginning of every month, ready and willing to bring you all the information that November has to bring for you. So tonight is a collaborative effort between Family Life and Generation S. And we have a lot in store for you as usual. We have two very special guests, and of course, one of them you know very well, but we have another very special guest with us, and I'm very excited that she's on the show. We have Sister Renee with us today.
Hi, Lauren. Yeah. Good evening.
She's a little like, you know, Lauren, but she has a lot in store. And we have, of course, this face. Father Matthew is no stranger to our set. Hi, Father.
Hi, how are you?
I am very, very good.
I'm Father Mark.
What?
I'm Father Mark.
You're Father Mark?
Yes.
Why Father Matthew?
No,
what?
Matthew's my twin brother.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Oh, yes. By the way, the hair might look a little different, guys. He growing it out for November, but I guess we'll see what happens at the end. But we have our special guests on today because they're going to be talking about Vocations Week 2018 happening, yes, here, you know, in November, and they are going to tell us all about what is in store for us. Yes?
Yes, that's why we're here.
That's why you're here. So you're all ready to get questioned?
Of course, of course.
Yeah? Okay, so before we actually get into it, let's get to know Sister Renee. Yeah, Sister Renee, so welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Sister Renee Hall.
Yes.
I am a Dominican sister of St. Catherine of Siena.
Yes.
I've been teaching for the last 17 years, and I've been with Dominicans for the last 12 years at Holy Name Convent. I teach history and religion. Right now I am the aspirant, you know, I deal with the aspirants to our congregation. And what else do I say about myself? I made first vows in 2010 and final vows in 2015. I know we're going to talk about the vocation story like later on
and
in
stuff,
the
yes.
show. You know?
But yes, viewers, I mean, she's a teacher, you know, for 17 years. Wow, sister, I did not even know that. I was actually thinking like 5 years, but
No.
17 years is a pretty long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's a religious sister and a teacher, okay? So she's a busy woman. So when I was doing some research for the show, and I was doing some research on the Vocations Week and stuff like that, I realized a lot of the questions that came up was calling. What is a calling? You know, I'm hearing about this calling everywhere. So I said, let's talk about the calling. Father?
Okay, well, first things first, Lauren. I think we need to really demystify this notion of call. Yes, we hear about call in the Bible, but for the modern ear, the modern mind, the modern heart, we want to think of call as an irresistible attraction. In one sense, yes, God calls, and we know God calls, and God places that call in our heart, our mind, our souls, our very being. But somehow, people today think of call in a sort of skewed way, that we think of call as an audible voice, and you're going to hear this voice, or you're going to see some sort of sign with clouds and rainbows and all of this sort of thing.
I mean,
so really, to demystify that understanding of call, because a young man or young woman is not going to see their name written in the sky as a call, or on some billboard on the highway, or see themselves some vision or the other, or something like that. I mean, that is few and far between.
Right.
So when we talk about call, it's first to begin the work of God. That God places that attraction on the person's heart to respond, but the person still has freedom. So call is someone responding to God in freedom. That's a response to a call. But the call comes from God. But how we mediate the call and express the call, we have to look at differently now in 2018.
yes.
And I like to describe it as that attraction.
Okay.
When somebody says, I feel a call in my heart, is that they believe that God wants them to do something
Right.
with their lives for the service of the kingdom, for the service of the church.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Father. Sister,
Well-
now that we're getting, can I hear from you what your call was like and what you interpret the call to be?
But I think I heard the call,
Yes.
but resisted, like
Okay.
most people.
Like most people.
In terms of, so if I went back to my days of being in primary school, and I went to a government primary school, by the way, San Fernando Girls Government, but I think I was lucky to have Catholic teachers who took us for the religious knowledge segment every week. So my teacher for standards 3, 4, and 5 was a very devout Catholic belonging to Zion. So she really encouraged me. Then I went to St. Joseph's Convent, then to UE Barbados, where I joined the Catholic Students Movement. So all of that time I wasn't thinking religious life at all. I was just living a very, I would say, normal, healthy, balanced life as a young Catholic woman. When I came back to Trinidad, I went back into parish life. I was an order server, one of the first set of female order servers in 1994. So I got back involved, Father Harvey was there as parish priest. I think Father Matthew came as assistant parish priest.
Wow.
At some point. And then I did a choice weekend. And I think it was at the choice weekend when they began to talk more specifically. I can't give out too much about the choice weekend about vocation. I think a seed was planted. But just being always involved in church all throughout my life. 2003, we had the youth assembly here, and the theme was, do whatever he tells you. And I think at that point, I really seriously began to engage discerning. So I joined the study group. I was living in South, teaching in Port of Spain.
Right.
And I joined the study group for Dominican sisters. And it took me about 2.5 years before I could really say, okay, yes, I will write my letter. Yes, I will apply to enter the convent.
Wow.
So there were no voices from the sky. It was just a very serious period of discernment and listening and, asking God to reveal what is his purpose for my life and in what way, how he would like me to live it out. And it's a daily choice. I don't think that you hear this call and you stop. I think we have to hear this call every day.
Yes.
It's not
Correct,
it's not a commitment that we make, you're ordained or you make your profession and that's it. No, it's a call every day.
Every day?
We have to listen to God's voice and to respond to his call. It's a way of life that we have chosen.
Wow, that is, I'm actually like, when you explain it like that, it's a call every day. Because I'm just thinking about it isolated and I'm being very honest, but I'm beginning to, as you share, realize that yes, it is a call every day to wake up and you make this choice. Father, I'm sure you could share in what sister is saying.
Yeah, a call. If you talk about the call, you're really talking about an original inspiration. That a young man, a young woman, or someone probably in the midlife, they have an original inspiration. An original inspiration to follow Christ as a priest, a religious sister, brother, lay consecrated.
Yeah.
And there is an initial yes to that. But following upon that, you give many yeses, so to speak. The discernment is the many yeses that you give to feed that original inspiration. It's like falling in love. You fall in love, Lauren. You know your husband now. You know when you fell in love.
Yes.
You knew when you began to feel an attraction to him.
Yes.
You knew when you had feelings for him. So there was an original inspiration for Brent, your husband. And then you began to feed it.
Yes.
You fed it by going to cinema and going to dinner and holding hands and walking on the beach.
Yes.
Similarly,
It's very true though.
similarly,
Yes.
with the call, God puts something on your heart.
Yes.
It may not come in a sort of overt way, a voice, an audible voice, or something on a billboard, or clouds in the sky, or reflection in a pond. It comes something that is deep within. So you're talking about an interior life, a space in your very being, where you feel attracted to God and the things of God and the work of God.
Okay.
And these many yeses is a feeding. Is when Brent called you, so you want to go out And you say, okay, yes, what time are you meeting?
Yes, that was
So
actually
those
how
were the
it
many,
was.
those
Yes.
were the many yeses.
Yes.
So so the many yeses is probably adoration, probably spending time with the Word of God, probably going to mass more than once a week, during the week, the rosary, getting involved in social causes.
Yeah.
All of those are your many yeses that help you discern, because you begin to stretch yourself, and you begin to open yourself to other possibilities. So what happened with you before getting married to Brent? Anybody who else came on the horizon, they were no more.
No.
So you started to say no to them.
Yes.
And you started to say no to going out with them. And only Brent was on your horizon.
Yeah.
So you fed it. Same way you feed it by having God and the things of God on your horizon.
Yeah.
And then you begin to feel that attraction even more. And it becomes deeper, and then you become peaceful at it. And then nothing can shake you.
Nothing can shake you. But you know, Father, for all the times Father has been on this show, I don't think, besides Brent's analogy, I don't think he has actually come out and explain it and bring it down to basics.
The bed, Laura.
It's probably inspiring you.
Yes,
and Sister Renee, you know,
yes,
she is just bringing out that,
the best
you know,
in
he
me.
has never explained it like that. So my next question to you is that we've decided to have a Vocations Week.
Okay.
Right? This Vocations Week, the intention of this Vocations Week is for what?
I think consciousness is important. Huh?
Right.
I'll use another analogy. We need to be conscious about the environment. And so recycling and reusing and decreasing your carbon footprint, all these are ways of raising consciousness about the need to preserve the environment. Similarly, in vocations work, we need to raise consciousness, to raise awareness. So the Vocations Week is about awareness. Some people don't have a clue with respect to pollution and carbon monoxide and cutting down trees. And so you raise consciousness with that. Similarly, a Vocations Week is a method, is a strategy to raise consciousness.
Okay.
That God still calls. That God still, in the words of Jesus, the harvest is rich, but the laborers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest to send laborers to his harvest. And people must know that happened, has been happening for the past 2,000 years, and will continue to happen for the next 2,000 years. God is not going to leave God's church undone.
Yes. Sister, you have anything to share on the Vocations Week that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think what I've been seeing and also being a part of, Generation S, we are, I have to say it's a we thing, I think sometimes we think that the vocations ministry is just for the persons identified in the diocese for that work. But I think that we're all vocations, ministers of vocations, and creating a culture of vocations that really bringing it back to people that, listen, God created you for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
And in the church, there's 3 states of life. How do we begin that conversation and to sustain the conversation, to encourage persons to make that leap of faith? I mean, Father Matthew's here, and he was very much a part of my journey in San Fernando. One time saying to me, well, even if you take that jump and you fail and you fall, at least you would have fallen for God. And that just made so much sense to me. And I think that my parish life, at that point we were all making that journey of commitment and stewardship. And so as a young woman, I think if now all parishes and all families and all schools, began to put those, put the headlights on vocations and encourage young and not so young, because as we can see that it's not an age, it's about a certain disposition and a preparation to say, listen, I would like to serve God in this way in the church and to enter into it. So Vocations Week, it's just one way, but it's really creating a culture of vocations.
That is really what it is. I heard Sister mention the headlights, and I know as we've discussed, Sister, Vocations Week is packed with a lot of things for everybody to participate in. So between yourself and Sister, you could go through the schedule with our viewers, what they can expect for Vocations Week, the dates for Vocations Week as well.
All right. It begins on Sunday, the 11th of November. And we're really encouraging families to eat together on that day. We really feel that people are really busy during the week. School and lessons and assignments. So sometimes the average family may not get together to eat. So we want families, Catholic families, to eat. And by the way, I am on a personal campaign in the St. Joseph Mongdor parish, that's my parish, to get my parishioners eating together on a Sunday. So we're kicking off the Vocations Awareness Week with that. We are also having a discernment morning for young men at the St. Joseph parish as well. And so we want Catholic families who are listening to this to plan the little callaloo and the potato salad and the stewed chicken, macaroni pie and green salad, because we have to be healthy.
Yes, wow.
So plan all of that and say, okay, after the meal or during the meal, we're going to say a decade of the rosary for vocations, or we're going to just cry out to Jesus to send laborers into the vineyard. That's the
Sunday.
That's a Sunday. On the Monday, we have something exciting.
Yes.
Monday is we're green. Green is the color of hope.
Okay. So we have to pull out our green clothes.
You have to pull out your green
clothes. You all
clothes.
heard that, right? On Monday, you have to wear green for vocations. I just want to reiterate it to our audience, sister, father, everybody behind the scene, green for vocations.
And green is the color of hope. Green is the color of vegetation. We want to talk about new life and springing new life. So all this is a symbolic week.
Right.
We want to symbolize by the choice of green that there will be a spring, a movement from the dry season into the wet season.
Right. From
dry grass into lush, verdant grass. We believe that. We're symbolizing hope that God will never leave his church unattended.
Yes.
That's the hope we have. On Tuesday morning, we have headlamps.
Yes, our sister was saying the headlamps. Yeah?
And it's about making a statement to society that we need the light of vocations for the church in the world. When people could lay down their lives in service, when people could still listen to God, when people will say, I will do whatever he tells me.
Yep.
It's a basic statement, it's a basic witness. We need witness. Cultures in which seminaries are full and convents are full have a great sense of witness. The church is full of that witness. The society in which you live is full of witness. Witness that God still has a role in my life.
Okay.
And that's important for society. That God is not in the margins, God is in the center.
Center, yeah.
Because the feed of vocation is to put God in the center of your life.
Yeah. Go ahead. You have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
All right, okay.
I have to tell you how much things going on.
I can help him with
Wednesday. Help me with the Wednesday,
yes.
The students of all Roman Catholic secondary schools are being asked to write a prayer and to place in designated boxes, asking the Lord to raise up men and women to lay down their lives to help heal a broken and suffering world. So, you know, we have a number of Catholic schools in our archdiocese, secondary schools, and you know what I find with young people, whenever they're given a challenge, they rise to the occasion.
Always.
You know, so if I were to go back to that, to the fasting that we do, you know, the girls come and pursue me now for the fasting cards.
Really?
So if I forget, and once they hear it's happening, sister, where are our fasting cards?
Okay.
And they challenge each other. I remember one year they did a WhatsApp group, and every hour on the hour they said a Hail Mary on the WhatsApp group to keep the fast going amongst my Form 6. I said, you know, girls, okay, maybe bread and water, because they really found the no food was a big jump, because fasting is not a part of our culture.
It is.
So even when I say, you know, bread and water, they said, could we put butter on the bread? I said, no butter on the bread. Okay? But in asking the young people to pray, I believe that prayer can move mountains, that prayer can help to move this whole thing of vocations forward, that, you know, you pray, you ask them to pray for those who are discerning, to pray for themselves.
Yeah.
When you go to a Catholic school or you are the recipient of a Catholic education, I think that there is a responsibility that comes with it. Even for Catholics in non-Roman Catholic schools, there is also that responsibility. So we are asking young people to write a prayer and to, put them into boxes. Maybe their teachers can take them to the parish church after and have it, lifted up at Mass. You do some ritual, because I think in life is full of like rituals and signs and symbols. And when God's people, when we come together to pray, God will hear us, and He can move the hearts of men and women to really consider vocations.
Yes. Thursday.
Thursday we have a primary school program. Actually, Thursday is the secondary school and Wednesday is primary school.
Right.
And we're getting the primary school teachers to get the children to do the famous, I'm sure you did that when you were in school, the famous red bean.
Oh yes, Brody Mung Bean, yes. Well, I didn't Mung Bean, but yes, yeah, I know. So they have to plant a seed.
Right, exactly.
That is significant of planting a seed.
There's a liturgy.
Yes.
There's a liturgy behind it.
Yes.
Praying that the seed will be planted. And the symbolism behind that is that a vocation really begins small.
Yeah.
And it grows and it blossoms. It begins probably with a visit to Blessed Sacrament Chapel. It begins probably with a visit to an old people's home or senior citizens' home. It begins probably with somebody taking their lunch and giving it to a homeless person.
Yeah.
There's so many ways that God initiates a vocation and a call. He places on our heart. It's like a spark. A spark that gets a fire going.
Yeah.
A spark that really moves the human heart to give their entire life for the kingdom of God, for the church. So that seed is symbolic of how small things grow into
Something
a vocation.
Beautiful.
Something
Definitely.
beautiful for God, as Mother Teresa says.
Yes.
That's what a vocation is really giving your life to do something beautiful for God.
Yes.
Because
And-
salvation is beautiful.
And in about, after you finish Describe Friday, I'm going to take us to a clip with Sister Anne-Marie, and I have to give you all a little story about that. But when we finish Friday, we'll go into that clip, and I will share with you the story with going to the Lost Piece with Sister Anne-Marie, a Carmelite sister. And so let's do Friday, and let's get into that, because it's very significant to what you're saying, Father. So explain to us what Friday is in store for us, and then we could get to that.
Friday, we have dubbed the Friday as the National Day of Prayer, Fasting, and Abstinence.
Okay.
The Bible speaks about prayer moving mountains, and we are not going to stop praying. This diocese is not going to stop praying. We intend to replace every retired priest with a discerner, with a seminarian. We believe in the power of prayer.
Yes.
We don't want any convents to close.
None.
We want the work of the kingdom, the work of mission to continue in the church.
Yeah.
And so we have to pray. And prayer, fasting, abstinence, we have to understand the power of making sacrifice.
Yeah.
So yes, and we will notice that throughout the week, it's already everybody in the Archdiocese. Teachers getting involved, students, young people getting involved,
Family.
families getting involved.
Public, just the general public, with the
public.
headlights, you know?
The people who are bedridden and the shut-ins. We're really hoping that we're going to storm heaven on Friday, the 16th of November, for ministry of vocations and for people to really lay down their lives in service.
You know, one sister was mentioning the prayer, and she said, you know, prayer moves mountains, and then you also brought it up. I realized that one thing that is consistent with this Vocations Week is prayer. If there's one thing that I hear you all saying repeatedly, is prayer. And I think when I was doing the research on the Vocations Week, I was looking for some things that were consistent with it, you know, and prayer, I realize, is a big part of this Vocations Week, and it just builds all the excitement and all the enthusiasm. But you all have created prayer and made it very exciting. So you're connected prayer with exciting events. And I think that is very important for young people, especially that we who are involved in this ministry, it's not about just prayer and you just praying like this. It's about you praying and acting as well. And I think, sister, you're very right. Young people love a challenge. So when we give and we show young people this is what we have to offer, they're going to want to know more.
Yeah.
I mean, sister, you're in the school. You must know. You work with young women, teenagers. So you must know.
I think my girls are very good. I think that they're very responsive. No,
Yes.
I mean, we have a very high Catholic population, and we really try to encourage our girls. So last week we had on All Souls Day, we had a prayer service for the dead. They did a dance of departure showing how the soul would leave the body.
Right.
And then we said, a decade of the rosary for the dead, and whatever we do in school, we can't use our hall. We had mass in the yard under a tent, our mass to begin the academic year. So my thing is, what is prayer?
Yeah.
If we talk about the basic catechism, the lifting up of the mind and the heart to God and our whole lives, that is the context. And you think of it in the morning, you get up and you pray. You pray the Angelus at midday, or something is wrong during the day, you say, Lord, help me, without even knowing it. During the earthquake, all of us were saying the same thing.
Oh my
Lord,
gosh.
have mercy. I think when you, since experience, are called to priesthood or religious life, it feels like an earthquake, so you have to pray.
Yeah.
Because you feel as if God is shaking you out of your slumber to help you to make a choice, to make a commitment. And that's why the Father Matthew keeps referencing visits to the Blessed Sacrament. And I would admit, I used to go, and not maybe, when I say used to, but during those days of trying to figure out what God was saying to me, we had the Clooney Center very close to each other. I would just go there and sit for hours. I would sit on the staircase of the church, and Father, you say, Sister Renee, your bed wet? Are you a church mouse? What you doing here? Because I do have a devotion to Our Lady, so grottos are places where I tend to sit and pray the rosary, and like Mary, to be able to say that, yes, Mary was able to say yes. Even if she had doubts, she continues to say yes, and she encourages us to say yes by our lives as well.
Yeah.
You see, a vocation is like a seed, and a seed needs the right environment. You can have fertile soil, or you can have barren soil, or acidic soil, or soil that is not conducive to the growth of a seed. So prayer is like fertilizer. Prayer creates an atmosphere, it creates surrender, it creates humility. Prayer creates a change in priorities, a change in how we look at life. And so, if you really want to find out your vocation in life, start to pray.
Yes.
And start to pray more.
Yeah. And
both individual prayer and communal prayer.
Communal prayer. Well, that's what this Vocations Week is, not just a week of activity, and that is what I think I want the audience, I think, is realizing here, that, because sometimes you could hear Vocations Week and you could hear all the activities and be like, okay, well, all this must be done. But behind everything is prayer and discernment and being able to, be attentive to God, and really this is your time and your space to connect with God not only during this week, but it's supposed to start the conversation. It's supposed to build awareness, to what we're trying to do here. So as I said, I have a clip from Sister Anne Marie. I went to visit Sister Anne Marie at the Lost Feast because I wanted to ask her, why, tell me the joy of your vocation, and that's basically it. So I went and I met with her, and this is what she had to share with me.
Well, what brings me great joy is knowing that I'm fulfilling God's will for me. And my greatest fear is not fulfilling His will. Being called by God has brought me such graces, and He does not let you not be yourself. He has given me such talents. All of us He has given talents from since we were young, and He uses those talents to glorify His holy name and fulfill His holy will for us. All we have to do is say yes. And once I've said yes, and He has blessed me with such graces, I am able to do all the tasks that He wants me to do for Him. And even my failings, my challenges, they make me stronger and make me a better person. and he equips me to do his job for him, like reach out to others. People come here asking for help and for prayers, and the Holy Spirit just tells me what I need to do for them and what I need to say to them. And this is what brings me great joy. There's nothing more fulfilling than helping someone else, and helping someone else to fulfill their goals as well.
So yes, that's Sister Anne-Marie, and I must say that was really an experience, because that's only part of it. Brent and I went and we did that interview together because, well, recently my car was stolen, so my husband has to take me around to do all these different things, you know, in preparation for the show. And both of us went, and both of us witnessed the great work that is being done. And I was just, the way that Sister spoke about her vocation, the joy when I saw her interacting with the people, I was like, wow, Vocations is a lot bigger than what we think it is. And you don't get to see that side of priest and religious. Like, I'll be very honest, priest is on the, y'all on the altar, and religious sisters, you know, you see them going around and stuff, but you don't, like, you're a teacher and you have you're living life, but your religious sister and father is a human being other than a priest, right? So when I went in to see Sister Anne-Marie in that way, I was like, Vocations is a beautiful thing. The joy once you get a chance to say yes and you listen to that yes. So I just have to share that.
Once you give yourself a chance.
Yes.
Sometimes the self gets in the way.
Right.
The self could get in the way in the marriage, self could get in the way in the single life, self gets in the way in the office. We have to look at self. Sometimes we could become so self-centered that we don't look outside of ourselves. The beautiful thing about vocations call you out of yourself. A classical definition of a vocation is a movement from a secure now into an insecure future. That's a classical definition. But God is there in this so-called insecure future. It really propels you into trust. I don't know what the next 30 years of my life would be, but I want to trust God. I don't know what the next 20 years of my life would be. I want to trust God. I don't know what the next 5 months of my life is going to be.
Yeah, trust me. But you have to trust God.
But the next half an hour.
You know?
I'll go with the next half an hour.
You go the next half an hour. Because I was going to ask
trusting God.
Trusting God, yeah.
And so when the self gets in the way, you have to say, no, I'm going to trust God. When the desire for a security blanket, for a comfort zone, when the desire to have everything down pat, trust God. I tell the discerners all the time, trust the process.
So
Father
hard
Matthew
though.
is not going to lead you astray. And if you want to come into the discernment house in St. Joseph, trust the process. God will take care of things.
I see Sister looking and she's like, I feel like Sister is ready to say, to contribute to that statement. But I would let you all know, it's so hard to trust God. It is so hard. Sister, I see like you want to say something. Like
okay, let me bring back the Brent analogy. You trusted Brent
yes.
when on your married and wedding day.
Yes.
You trusted Brent when he said, I will love you and honor you.
Yes.
In good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. You trust. If you can trust a human being, you have to trust God.
Yes, you have to trust God.
Trust God. All things work together for good, for those who love God.
Yes.
And God has a way of working things out.
Yeah.
I mean, you may go kicking and screaming. You may go crying. I remember when I handed in my resignation. I was a teacher about 16 months. And I had to hand in my resignation to go to the seminary on the 7th of February, 1993. That's when I entered the seminary. 7th of February, that was my brother's birthday. So I remember the day. But the week, my last teaching day was the 30th of January. And to hand in that, I said, Matthew, what in heaven's name are you doing? But I had to trust God. And there were times that I wanted to leave the seminary, but I had to trust God. And I was getting older and older and older. And I said, you know, if I leave now, what am I going to do? But I had to trust God. So You know, sometimes in a vocation, you feel, okay, this is not for you. People in the seminary, sometimes 6 years into it, 5 years into it, 8 years in, say, this is not for you. But you trust God. So I trusted God. After my 6th year, every year, for 6 years, I said I would leave next semester. And it's only in my 7th year. Only in my 7th year. So I had to trust God for 6 years of that insecurity, that instability, that lack of clarity. And you don't want a happier priest than me. Mm? You don't want someone who, basically, if I have to do it over, I'll do it again.
Sister, can you relate to Father Matthew's testimony?
I think you have to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus.
Okay.
That you really have to keep your focus, because there are many things that will come up as distractions, and there are many times when you feel, I can certainly do something better with my life, but then you have already begun a relationship. And you know, you don't just change your mind as if you are, when you wake up, when you change your clothes.
Yeah.
You know, the idea is that you have entered seriously into a period of discernment, or even for us who have made this commitment, so like with religious. Mm-hmm. So you know, we do it like in parts, right?
Yeah.
We don't just make vows from day one.
No.
You know, and just like, you know, with the seminarians, they have to discern as well. So even after, so like with me, I am a teacher, and for religious life, you're required to take at least 1 year canonical. You're not supposed to work. Of course, my leadership felt, how is she going to get this year off? Because I didn't have enough years as a teacher to get a year off for sabbatical or for study leave. And that required trust. Another person said, you're not going to get the year. You know, I got my year off. I got 1 year no pay leave, legitimately, from the ministry. I applied and I got it to do my canonical novitiate year. So I think throughout your life, you have these faith experiences. And you have to remember, I think sometimes we forget. We forget that God is in charge and God is in control. And if he did it before, he'll do it again. You know, and once we reach out and we put our hands, as that, that metaphor that I use all the time, I have put my hand into an unseen hand, but that hand will not lead me astray. You know, if we say that, you know, God is love, if he says in the scripture, you know, every grain of hair on your, you know, every strand of hair is counted. Lauren, look in the mirror. Look at the hair on your head. And God is saying in the gospel, he knows, you know, every single one of those strands of hair. Look at the birds of the air.
Yeah.
If he cares for them, why would he not care for us? So that whole thing of trust is part of the commitment.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes we are the ones who are unfaithful, you know. God is always faithful. We are the ones who abandon him, you know. He never abandons us. The thing is, we can always come back to him.
Yeah.
That's the thing, that he's so in love with us that no matter what we do, we're able to come back.
Yeah.
You know, and he keeps us. I honestly believe that it is only the Lord who can keep us in whatever vocation. I know you're just married and...
Oh, yeah,
you know,
just
so
married, yeah. Yeah,
the
well, trust
the honeymoon glow is still there.
No, yeah, the honeymoon, yeah. But I have to say, like, with this whole experience with the car, you know, it was a real jolt to us. But we always pray, but we just hyped up, we just like amped up the prayer a lot more, because we realized that God was the only person that could keep us grounded. We had to trust in him like no other. And I mean, I could relate to what Father is saying, but I will not sit here and tell you, yes, trust in Jesus, because it was hard. It's hard.
It is hard.
It's very hard. You know, and that's just the honest truth. But as I said, this is a journey, and trusting in God is definitely something that I keep at the forefront. Yeah.
And it's like the vocation of motherhood.
Oh.
You have children.
Yeah.
And the teenage years aren't easy. You don't stop being mother. You don't stop being mother because of a 14-year-old or 15-year-old or 16-year-old on weed. You don't stop being mother because they don't want to go to school. That continues. And so in a vocation, it's like motherhood. You're bringing birth. You're nurturing something. You're nurturing a whole part of you. So you really have to continue to nurture. And so you nurture, with a vocation, you nurture the vocation through different stages.
Yeah.
The terrible twos, the child, the 6 to 10 year old, the teenager. They're going off to university, they're sleeping out, they're going parties, coming in 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, parents can't sleep.
No.
That kind of thing. So those various stages, there's an equivalent in your vocation stages. But it's life. A vocation is about life. And it's about you looking at yourself and you seeing God in relation to yourself, in relation to the church, relation to ministry. And vocation is about love. That you're really in love with God at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You really love God with your whole heart, your whole soul, your whole mind, your whole strength, your whole understanding. And let's say friendship. You don't want to hurt your friends.
No.
You don't want to hurt your loved ones. So you stick with them.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of commitment to friendship and love. And so when you have that relationship with God, that deep relationship with God, you already go the 9 yards.
Yeah.
You go the extra mile.
Yeah.
You feed it. You feed the vocation.
Yes.
And we want the diocese to have conversations about vocations.
During this vocations
During
week,
this
of
week,
course.
but it's like
It's starting.
it's starting. But you know, they said it's not the things that you do at Christmas time, but the things that you do throughout the year.
Yeah, yes.
All year through,
yes.
yeah.
All year through. So this is only raising awareness. Raising awareness for what? Raising awareness so that everything we do in Vocations Week may be done for the other 51 weeks of the year.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, like, very basic, the objectives of the Vocations Week. You know, what do you hope to achieve with this Vocations Week?
To use our slogan, dare to be different, think and talk vocations, to the priesthood, the religious life, the lay consecrated life. That's one objective. Create environments of let's say soil, air. Air and light is important to the growth of a plant. Soil is important to the growth of a plant. So you're ready as an archdiocese, the right air, the right soil, the right environment for vocations. So therefore parishes have to begin to reflect. How is this parish, the Catholic classroom, the religious teacher, to reflect on what is the environment created in this Catholic primary school that would be conducive of vocations? What is the environment being created in this Catholic secondary school? And for teachers and catechists who go to government schools, what is the environment created in this government secondary school that would be conducive? So that's one area. Then family life. Is there any time that the notion of priesthood comes up together with accountancy and law and medicine and the protective services? Is there any notion that somebody's son or daughter could be being called to the priesthood and the religious life? Is it normative? People think marriage for their children is automatic.
Yeah.
We think marriage for our children. But can we think priesthood for our children?
Religious life, consecrated, you know?
And that is valid, and it is real, and it is normal. And that's how the church has lived for the past 2,000 years. Are we part of the church? In other words, are we thinking with the church?
Yes.
Are we thinking with the church on vocation? So the archdiocese has to think with the church on vocations. So come 2019, we want families and confirmation teachers thinking with the church. Co-responsibility. Big word, but really simple. That all of us have a role to play. Just as all of us have a role to play in preserving the environment, all of us have a role to play in the vocations culture.
Well, that's what I was going to ask both of you. And one of the questions that I came up with was, how can laity collaborate with this ministry, right? To encourage people to discover their vocation, because we want it to be a collab. You all can't do it all on your own. I mean, yes, you all live out your vocation, but sister, how can laity really collaborate with Generation S?
I think make a space.
Make a
space for young people in all the ministries in the church.
Yeah.
Make them feel that they are part of something bigger than themselves. And you know, I think that is one thing. I think also creating avenues for service.
Yeah.
I know that over the weekend, a number of parishes would have been going out to like flood areas that experienced the flood. You know, that's one way. I think too, the deepening of the prayer life, having richer liturgies, I would say. You know, because sometimes I think young people are coming to church and they're not even touched by anything. You know, they come out of obligation because their parents say you have to be there. But you know, parishes that have youth masses, or you know, the young people are involved, they see themselves as being a part of the church community. Of course, if somebody were to, you know, you can broach the topic. If you were to notice that there is somebody in the parish, male or female, who may look as if they have a leaning towards priesthood religious life or to lay consecrated, that you can approach the person and say, listen, are you thinking about this? Having a team of good spiritual directors in the parish as well, that's a very big part of collaborating with this vocations ministry. Having youth rallies, youth Lenten retreats, you know, all of those things I think out of my own faith experience at Our Lady of Perpetual Help made a very, very big difference. And my Father Celsus Ogi saying to us at the Youth Assembly, young people, you are the heart of the church. And if you don't do what you're required, the church will have a heart attack.
Very true.
And I will never forget that.
Yeah.
So, you know, really encouraging, embracing, nurturing. Just don't say, you know, you don't want to get married. That is all well and good. But if we're talking vocations, there is that interconnectivity. I don't think that any vocation stands on its own strength. You know, so when you asked me, as you know, we said about my parents' ring.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You know, my mother's ring. This
Yes.
is my mother's wedding band from
Yeah.
1979 that I used for my final vows. And for me, it's a continuation of their commitment. That the same thing that Father Matthew said about the giving up and you're tired and you don't want to do this anymore and it's too much, you know. And I said to myself, my mother never gave up. My parents are not giving up. You know, so in the same way that those vows that they took 39 years ago, I see it as a part of my vocation continuing, and it's engraved. So their dates and their initials are engraved on the inside, and then I put mine in 2015 as well. So, you know, when we talk vocation, it's really all hands on deck. It's everybody in the church, in the society, coming together to say, listen, we want something better. I mean, I don't know if you all feel alarmed, but I feel alarmed that we are number 12 on the list for the most dangerous countries in the world. In this beautiful twin island republic where there is so much positivity, you know, so much potential, and even like within the church, that we have to kind of put that back on the front page. Let's become 12 out of the most, you know, welcoming and most hospitable and happy people in the world. And I think as a church, we have a big part. We have a big part to play in that.
Well, that's why the question, when I was going through, I realized, you know, how can laity get involved in helping to sustain Generation S? Because, I mean, you all have things to do as well. And come on, collaboration. We need to collaborate to make things happen. And I think everything is important, what you said, sister, and it's important that our audience that are watching to hear, you know, the different ways that we can work together to help support our priests, our religious life, and our consecrated persons, you know, in getting vocations, bringing awareness to vocations and this ministry and the work that is being done. And this Vocations Week, where this is just a continuing of a conversation, because Generation S has been doing so many different things. But we always try to bring fresh new things to the table, and it's continuing the conversation of vocations in different ways. You know, and this Vocations Week, I know is going to be, well, it's the first time Vocations Week while I'm in this ministry. So I'm excited to see what will happen and how people will respond. And that's why we need you all to help us really make Vocations Week happen. Yeah?
And so two things I want to touch on
Yes.
for 2019, really.
Yes.
One is we need more parish vocations committees, PVCs. We have 62 parishes. We have on paper 32 PVCs, Parish Vocations Committees, but not all 32 are active. So we want the dormant PVCs to take the baton. Let's continue to work. Let's continue to get the message. One of our discerners in St. Joseph who wants to move on to pre-seminary and seminary. It is through an announcement that was made by a member of his PVC that got him to go to a retreat in 2016. As simple as that. We have something exciting planned for 2019. I want us to have a camp, literal camp, a vocations camp with tents and bonfire and all of that drama during the dry season.
Okay.
In sometime between January and June.
I actually really like that idea.
So
I'll come for the bonfire night.
Oh yeah, marshmallows. Yes, I really like that idea, Father.
So it's going to be a literal camp, but we're going to find creative ways of engaging the attendees. We would need help with tents and sleeping bags. We would need help with food. That's one of the major things that I want us to do in dry season 2019.
Right.
So there are many ways that people can help. Contribution, time, talent, treasure. If we have people in the protective services, because this is going to be out in fields, in a field or camp or savannah. All of that has to take place. But the sky is the limit, and we can dream the dream.
You know, Generation S, the team here in that camp for the first time, and I am almost positive, sister, I'm gonna get a phone call saying he wants to have a camp. But I really like the idea. I think now we have Sister Renee here. I think everybody should collaborate, get some priests, religious, some lay people, some consecrated laity to come out. You know, you take a side, Father take a side, you know, lay family life take a side. We work together, and we could all come up with different mini workshops to have during the time that we're there. You know, sister, based on your experience and stuff like that, you being a religious sister and a teacher, the fact that you have a job and you're a religious sister, you could bring all that to the table. I'm extremely excited about it. I'm actually like, we need to stick to Vocations Week, because I'm thinking all about, you know, what this camp, all the excitement for the camp. I have to admit.
This is foundational to it.
It's foundational to it, yes. So as we come into the last 5 minutes of the show, yes, I know I had so many things in store for the show, and it just didn't go as planned, but I trust God that he knew what he wanted to be delivered in this show. So, Sister and Father, you know, this Vocations Week, is there any special messages that you would like to send out to persons to get them involved, to encourage, you know? Sister?
I would say play your part.
Yeah.
You know, Father spoke about co-responsibility. I would like to talk about shared responsibility. And the responsibility is in terms of our ability to respond. So wherever you are, whatever your state in life is, I mean, there's some women who look at Trinity TV, and when they meet me in person, just saying, you know, sister, we pray for you all the time. And I'm thinking, okay, that is encouraging the vocation. You know, so if we were to look, and the teachers, parishes, as I said, it is a lot to do in 1 week. So just this morning I was talking to our administrators, and I was saying, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do the other. You know, because at Holy Name we are committed to whatever the Archdiocese asks of us, but we have to see ourselves as being a part of this bigger movement, this bigger dynamic that touches our lives. You know, so when no priest shows up for Mass, or you don't have a sister who could help in the parish to do something, then we say, oh, we have no priest and religious, so there are no lay people, no lay consecrated. Then we are alarmed. But this Vocations Week is creating an avenue for us to foster, to build that culture of vocation. So no matter how small, even if it's just making sure you turn your headlights on, is it on Tuesday?
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday, that too will be a signal to the national community that the church is alive, that the church is well, that the church is vibrant, that something is happening, that there is a movement of the Holy Spirit that we cannot resist. We have to respond and we have to give way and say, let your will be done in our lives.
Yeah, thank you, sister. Thank you. I think I'm going to take that little part out and edit it and put it out for next week. I like how, Father.
Help people discover meaning in their lives. We are not only memory makers, we are meaning makers, so to speak. I have meaning in my life. Manuel Castaños and everybody who encouraged me along the road of a vocation helped me to discover meaning in my life. Teachers help their students discover meaning. Because when you are grounded, when your life has meaning, when your life has purpose, when your life has direction, you begin to flourish as a human being. The greatest thing that I could offer, or a teacher could offer, or a priest, or a parent could offer a young person is for them to discover real, deep meaning in their life. Meaning makers.
I like that.
Yeah.
I could coin that. Meaning makers. I could coin that. But this Vocations Week, I'll give Father and Sister an opportunity to just run the dates by us again. It's from the 11th to the 16th of November.
Sunday the 11th of November to Friday the 16th of November.
Yes.
I think I also saw where they're asking parishes to have a 1-hour privilege from 6 to 7 and any other suitable time during the course of the week. And schools can do it too.
Yes. Well, yes, of course, anybody could do it. This week is really for everyone, as Sister and Father rightfully said, to get involved, and this is your opportunity for awareness. So as I come into the last minute and say 38 seconds, I just want to thank Sister Renee Hall and Father Matthew Duro, aka Father Mark, aka what was it? Meaning maker.
Yes.
Yes, we coined that, for being on the show with us today. Thank you for letting us know all what is in store for us for Vocations Week, and thank you for bringing such wonderful information and encouragement and a different way of looking at vocation other than what you actually hear.
And thank you for being you.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yes, it was a great interview. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, this was really good. I have to say, it's so bright and enthusiastic, and I think this is what our young people need. And thank you, Sister, for saying yes. I had to beg, but it was a beg well worth it.
She's accustomed saying yes.
Yes, she's accustomed saying yes, but Sister, this is your first of many to come on this show.
To God be the glory.
To God be the glory. So we just want to wish everybody a safe night, and thank you for watching us, and stay tuned for more to come, and take care.